What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the second half of this top 10 video. Of course, the list provided to us by Comic Nation, where we're highlighting the top 10 books that sold by Comic Nation. So, if you guys didn't already, definitely go check out the first half with these boys who I managed to summon to the north side of the border. That's what's up. Got the pressable defects in the house, man. How's it going?
Doing
Good,
good.
brother. Happy to be here. Happy to go. We just went from 10 to 6. I'm excited for the top 5, guys. I'm excited. A lot of surprises here, but a lot of non-surprises here, right? So, I'm excited to get into it. How about you, Maddie?
Yeah, like you said, top five. I have a feeling most people know a couple of these books already, and a couple of them snuck in there. I was a little surprised that they made the top five. So
Yep. Agreed.
happy to be here on Black Crown's channel. Let's get into this second part of the list, baby.
All right, let's do it.
Whew.
Yes. Okay, this one right here, Timeless number 1. This is the Massafera spoiler variant. Now, if you guys didn't get the opportunity to pick one up, it was a banger of a cover and a banger of a book. So, this actually came out December 27th, 2023. This one snuck in on the final new comic book day of the week. That's right. So, even with the holiday release, it had a incredibly strong sales both at FOC and New Comic Book Day. The spoiler variant was supposed to be unrevealed at FOC, but it somehow got leaked, so people jumped on it, and I was actually one of those. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity, but at FOC, they accidentally put up the image, and then they immediately took it down and put the spoilers,
Yep.
those black spoiler
Yeah.
images they put up. But we understand why. This, in our opinion, is one of the best Doctor Doom covers we've seen in a while. I couldn't agree more. The hype and pre-sales surrounding this variant had us curious. Will Doctor Doom, Sorcerer Supreme, appear in the issue? We can confirm he does in a single panel, along with an onslaught of characters, including most of the characters that were recently featured on the new Champions variant. The cover price for this book was high, but people did not shy away. We think this would have likely seen its fair market value trend if the cover art was not released at FOC as intended. Either way, sales for this particular variant completely overshadowed all the others, which makes it our top cover buy for 2023. What do you
I
guys
mean,
think
I
about
don't
that?
I don't disagree with that at all. That is the cover of the year for me. I mean, you get Sorcerer Doom, awesome Masafara variant. He knocked this out of the park.
Yeah. When Jay and I did our Comic Nation, December video, and this was I think it was number one on the list, right, Jay? It
Yep.
was not a shock. I mean,
Nope.
the timeless variants, the timeless books already have shown in the last 2 years that there's always something. It seems to be always something big that happens in them. So people have been jumping on them from the missed minutes covers to this,
Yeah.
and even first appearances inside. But now you're getting a dope cover, and then you're getting Doctor Doom, Sorcerer Supreme, which just reminds me personally of that Triumph and Torment book with Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Jay and I have talked about that on our channel a lot. Amazing, amazing story. If you guys have never read that, go and check that out. That's it's not a comic, it's a graphic novel.
Yeah.
But a crazy story that I hope one day we get to see at least part of that somewhere on the big screen. If they do Doctor Doom right, that's how they do him. And this kind of just reminds me of that and gives me hope that maybe we get a similar story somewhere in these comics. So,
Yeah.
very good cover by here.
All right, guys, let's get into the top 5 of 2023. Coming in at number 5, Venom Lethal Protector 2, number 1, the Alex Ross Timeless Villains Venom variant from Marvel Comics, released on March 29th, 2023. This Timeless Villains variant was actually tied with the Doctor Doom variant for sales, but we opted to only feature one of these timeless variants on this list, or else it would be on multiple times. Again, the sales for this one is a perfect example of the importance of cover art in the new comic book landscape and why publishers lean so hard into variants. We think this comic would have not ever seen 5% of the sales if we saw there was no Alex Ross timeless variant cover. Although these maintained pretty healthy demand, they were heavily printed. We think it will take some time before any beginning sales over cover price happens for this book. Just like the Timeless Heroes variants, we think the major characters like Doctor Doom and Venom are the ones to keep an eye out for. We are huge fans of Alex Ross and had a lot of fun selling these. It will be interesting to see how they do on an aftermarket in the future. When we looked at the overall data for these variants, we had literally sold thousands of copies, but this Venom was a standout because we sold out and even reordered additional copies, even though our FOC order was huge. We are huge fans of Alex Ross and would love to see another timeless variant like this one again in the future. I mean, all these were awesome. Doom was personally my favorite,
Yeah.
but Alex Ross knocked this Venom out of the park. Guys, what do you think?
I mean, the fact that I think what's the sauce, the secret sauce here is that it's on Venom Lethal Protector number 2, volume 2, number 1. If you didn't have that, I think this book wouldn't be on the list. But the fact that they brought Lethal Protector back, and this is the cover, it's a timeless cover by Alex Ross, was that variable that kind of just put it over the top.
Yeah, man, and there's no doubt that Venom is a big time favorite for a majority of people. Now, I think out of all the Alex Ross covers, the one that kind of like, I don't know, struck me a little the wrong way was Thanos, man. The Thanos one looked a bit strange, but this one's a banger. I loved all the Alex Ross covers. I collected them all, which was a big rabbit hole, a very expensive one,
Yep.
but definitely makes sense to see this one on the list.
All right, number 4, Amazing Spider-Man number 17, the Lorenzo Pastrovecchio Disney 100 Avengers Homage variant. So this released on January 11th, 2023 from Marvel Comics. Here's what Comic Nation has to say. Here we go again. Sales for the Disney 100 variants, particularly the early ones, were extremely high. We opted to only feature one of them. Otherwise, all 3 would be on this list. If you thought the print run for the Timeless variant was high, these can probably make them see scarce. Clearly, combining the Disney and Marvel properties for a well-executed variant set like this was a great move by Marvel. We sold these in bundles that included all 3 of the first Disney 100 variants, and pre-sales were very strong. We sold out of all of our extras on release and found ourselves ordering additional copies. We suspect that these saw a massive publisher overprint in order to stock and sell them at Disney theme parks, so there is not likely too much investability, particularly on these early variants. What is worth noting is that sales tanked for the Disney 100 variants published after the first 6, so if people did ever go back and try to complete the set, those may not have the supply to meet the demand. We'll also have to wait and see how this pans out. Overall, we felt these were very fun variants, and although all of them were worth grabbing, the first 3 were probably the best executed. It'll be interesting to see if Marvel integrates Disney into future variants. This would not surprise us because they were great sellers. All right, so this is not really my style. To me, this is just a cash grab, which I think is obvious. I mean, that's basically what Comic Nation's alluding to as well. And Marvel's allowed to do that. They're a company, they got to make money. Buy it if you're into it. I agree, there's little to no investability purpose on these. But I guess a lot of these books we're really not talking about the underlying story much because all these books sold for one reason or other, a character or a cover, right?
Yep.
So technically this kind of is like a cover buy, which there is a lot of that on this list. If I had to choose one of these, I kind of went. The only one that I really liked was the Infinity Gauntlet one. The rest of them are just kind of like, if you're, like I said, if you're into it, you're into it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Matt. Definitely a cash grab, and definitely a cash grab that worked if it's coming in at number 4 for 2023. So again, very business minded, throwing in these Disney characters, and I mean that's pretty much it, right? That's why we have it at number 4.
I think it's a phenomenal combination of the homaging right here, man. You got the Disney stuff, you got these classic covers, but what's actually surprising to me is that I did think they have potential before they even dropped, because we look at books like those D23 exclusives with Disney's characters on them and stuff like that, and those exploded, right? So did I think there was potential? Yes. Did it reach the point I thought it would? Absolutely not. But I was a sucker, guys. I picked up every single cover and multiple copies because I am setting these aside for my kids, right? So I'm building their short boxes. They're going to have some stuff when they're older.
I like it.
Oh boy, Spider Boy number one, guys. Yes. Okay, so before we get into this book, Spider Boy craze in 2023 was incredible, and I'm sure we'll eventually get to that point. But this one right here is the Scotty Young variant of Spider Boy number one, released November 1st, 2023. Now, Spider Boy pre-sales were absolutely wild. You hear a lot of people slamming this character, but if you look at sales data, you would not have guessed that. When we saw there was a Scotty Young variant for this book, we knew it would do well, but we did not have the cover art for this variant prior to the FOC, right? So Scotty Young often waits till right before FOC to drop his cover art, but that doesn't seem to affect sales, not even a little bit. Our customers were ordering this variant blindly before we even had the cover art. So when we finally did have it, sales exploded. This quickly surged past all other variants for this book, including the main cover by Ramos. We think Scotty did a great job with this cover, but the print run for this one was sky high. There are still copies available at distribution as we speak. No doubt about it, Marvel Comics is committed to Spider-Boy, and if they continue to put work into this character, we think it's only a matter of time before we see him in other media. With a supply like this, it will take a massive amount of demand to see this or any other open order Spider-Boy number one variant trend beyond cover price. So much of the future of this variant hinges on the continued development of this character. So we are eager to see what happens with this one. And yo, like I said, Spider Boy craze in 2023. I think if there's any first appearance that dropped in 2023, I think that's the big one, right?
Yep,
Now, Scotty
absolutely.
Young always kills it, always kills it. Would I say this is his best cover in 2023? Absolutely not. There's many other bangers, but I love this cover. I did pick up a few.
So I'm the opposite. I'm not a big fan of Scotty Young, especially when it comes to like the darker characters. But when it comes to a character like Spider Boy, I think it fits. I think his art fits, and I could totally see why this is number three on the list. And like you guys said, Spider Boy was probably the biggest character drop of 2023 sales wise. And I mean, I don't know. We may see another Spider Boy book on this list again.
I was gonna say I'll reserve. We'll have more Spider Boy talk later on in this list. But as far as the cover on this one, I like the idea of it. Like BC said, not his best. I do like some Scott. I'm like a Scotty Young fan sometimes, right? I
Yeah.
think he's done some amazing work. The idea of this is pretty cool. The execution is good. The idea. I like the upside down. I think that was a cool idea. But we'll see more Spider Boy coming up. Don't worry, guys.
All right, coming in number two. Who in the what title is this? I've never have we seen this before? Guys, coming in number two, Void Rivals number one, cover A, the Lorenzo Di Felice from Image Comics and Skybound, released June 14 of 2023. Leading up to FOC for this book, written by Robert Kirkman, all we knew was that it would have a crazy big surprise in it. There were absolutely no indications that this title would be connected to Transformers and the G.I. Joe universe. As a matter of fact, the only thing we heard up until that point was that Skybound was in the mix to secure comic book publishing rights to these properties. Another thing that caught our eye was the 1 in 100 spoiler variant. We knew that this would be the reveal of the surprise. Then, just a couple of days before FOC, we got the news. Void Rivals would be a new Hasbro property introduced as part of the Energon universe alongside G.I. Joe and Transformers. As soon as the news of a surprise and rumors of the Hasbro connection started to make their rounds online and social media, sales went absolutely wild. We anticipated there would be very high demand on release, so we ordered a ton of copies and have been pleased to see how well received this new shared universe has been. A new independent property outselling Disney and Alex Ross covers, the first issue of Spider-Boy, and all but one book in 2023 is shocking to us. If you were to factor in sales of the later printings of this book, which is now on its sixth printing, this would easily be ranked as the number one book of 2023. As for the Energon Universe storyline thus far, it has been incredible. We could only speak for our sales, but they have been very strong. People really seem to be enjoying this new property and this new take on G.I. Joe and Transformers. It seems more geared toward the adult readers. It would not surprise us at all to eventually see Void Rivals streaming on Prime alongside with a new take on G.I. Joe and Transformers. Even though the print run for this book is high, we think that the first print as well as its later printing will be worth considering buying. Also, worth considering are later issues with key characters. We have seen key characters from the Kirkman series like Invincible and Walking Dead do very well in the past. We strongly recommend checking out the Energon universe. In our opinion, it's one of it, if not the best going comics in 2023 right now and moving forward. Guys, we've seen this all the new comic book, not the new comic book days, but all the comic book reviews for each month. Void Rival has yet not to appear on this list, and it's the second print, the third print, the fourth print, right? So
Yep.
this is huge, right? People have seemed to be enjoying the Energon universe. Listen, I'm an 80s guy, right? Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. Who doesn't want to see Transformers and G.I. Joe pitched to more of an adult audience that grew up with these two major titles? So no surprise to me. And just like the guys at Comic Book Nation said, if you factor in all the printings, this would definitely be number one in my opinion.
Great series. I just started reading it recently. I'm really enjoying it. You got the two new characters right on the cover there. Like they mentioned, Kirkman, Invincible, Walking Dead, Void Rivals. Like we saw what those other two books did. Don't fall asleep on this series. Even if you just want to read it, it is a very, very good read. You have the nostalgia factor inserted in, which those other two series did not have. This could be something special. So I'll leave it at that because we still got a long way to go until we get there. But this was a really, really good series.
Yeah, I agree, man. And Kirkman is cooking up a great storm over here, man. You got this Energon universe bringing in, he's making this entire universe here with multiple characters from Transformers. You got Duke, you got Cobra Commander, you got everybody hopping in here. And one thing that was very interesting about this particular book is that at FOC, don't forget there was that I think it was the 1 in 100 ratio that was going. There were ratios available, but everybody wanted that spoiler one. And this at FOC, because people got wind of what was taking place, it surpassed 100,000 pre-orders. So just to give you an idea, man, insane. All right, guys, before we get into the big one, though, definitely go visit Comic Nation US and use this discount code. That's right. They're giving away 5 free comic book day books as pre-orders. So all you got to do is enter that discount code right there, FCBD 2024, and you can pre-order yourself 5 copies of the free comic book day books that are going to be dropping this year. Good time to be ahead of the curve, man, because there's some good ones out there that I recommend some people pick up. And of course, guys, there's another discount code for top 10. That's right. So for the books that are available and that you're seeing on this list, just enter discount code top 10 and you'll get 20% off the top 10 comics of 2023 that are available on comicnation.us. So the link and the details are going to be in the description of this video, in the defects video. So make sure to click on all that fun stuff and keep an eye out for all this cool stuff in the descriptions of the videos.
No surprise here, guys. Coming in at number 1. We alluded to it before. Spider-Man number 7, the Humberto Ramos top secret spoiler variant featuring Spider-Boy, released April 5th, 2023 from Marvel Comics. Dan Slott laid it all out on the line with this top secret spoiler variant was announced. Leading up to FOC, he said that this would be a huge character that he could not believe that Marvel was letting him create and work on. He also said that he strongly recommends pre-ordering a copy or two. These statements had a mixed reaction, some people opting to roll their eyes and write it off as self-promotion. The thing is, Dan Slott is a veteran writer, and he has not often pushed a button like this, so we were intrigued. We had a decent amount of orders and put in a healthy order for ourselves at FOC. Leading up to the release of this book, before we even got our copies, it was brought to our attention this would be a new Spider-Man-related 616 character. That is a huge difference maker for us, because while there are a lot of Spider-Verse characters from different realities, it is rare we get a new one in the 616. As you can imagine, we upped our order and let our customers know that they may want to do the same. When the artwork for this cover finally dropped, we looked at the landscape on eBay. Copies were pretty scarce, even though it was still available at distribution. Thankfully, we had time to order stacks of this book for ourselves and our customers before it sold out. Most of the copies we sold that made this issue number one on this list were offered up for cover price on the fly before the book took off. Again, we suggest joining our Telegram community to take advantage of these types of opportunities. It was great to see a brand new spec book hit $50 on the aftermarket on the week of release. No doubt about it, many of us are banking on this character. People we know with children have been exposed to the character seem to really like him, which is another good sign. I think the question is when, not if, we will see Spider-Boy in an animated or live-action series. Currently, his ongoing series continues to see Dan Slott flesh out the character, adding new allies and enemies that seem like they are likely out of a cartoon. It is important for collectors to understand the market for this character is mainly for younger readers, and their opinions are the ones that will determine this character's future. As you can see by the top 10 list, this was an incredible year for new comics, but this variant in particular was the crown jewel. So guys, we talked a little bit about Spider-Boy earlier. Comic Nation making a great point here about the future of the character being determined by a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That could be a good or bad thing if you believe in this character, because how sure are we in the younger base of this hobby? You know what I mean? As readers. I got to be honest, I'm a little bit more of a believer in this character than I was on launch. I mean, we did a live show on this. Me and Jay were kind of not sold on this, but seems to be going strong. The 9/8s have settled around $80 to $100. I think it was selling upwards of $170 to $180 like a month after release. So it has settled, but the raw copies are still pretty strong on this, $35 to $45. So maybe there's some legs on this character. Boys, take it away.
Jay, I'm going to give this one to you because I got a lot to say, bro.
Yeah. No surprise here, right? We all knew this was coming, especially being part of a social media community. This book went absolutely crazy. I mean, them tipping the hand saying buying a couple of copies. I mean, people don't know, right? Is it a business ploy? Do they want to, move numbers? Is it going to be a character that is going to be a crazy investment like Miles moving forward? I don't think so, but there's no doubt about it that this book was going to be number one. I'm sure if you're, into the comic book hobby at all and have just a little inkling of knowledge, you knew this was going to be number one on the list for 2023.
Yeah, man. So I got a lot of points to touch on over here. So the Ramos cover being the heavyweight, right? This is the one that everybody wants. The later printings saw almost no love. Yes, there's quite a few out there still available at like cover price and maybe even in the $2 bin. But one of the points that they bring up is very important is what you also said, Matt, about the younger crowd, the kids, right? I totally see this character playing into the Spidey and his Amazing Friends cartoon that's going on Disney Junior and stuff like that. My kids watch that stuff. So it is great for the hobby if we start getting, characters of such that will, reel these kids into what we fell in love with, right? This is how we all got here. I fell in love with the Spider-Man 90s cartoon. That's where it really took off for me. So that's one thing. Now, what's interesting is this book, this particular cover, held its own on cover price in 2023 for almost 4 months, dude. 4 months straight. This thing was on the top 10 list, and it was always, holding its own. People were hating on it, and I personally feel if you hated this one, it's probably because you missed it. I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty much what it sounds like, because everybody I spoke to just didn't stock up, and that's what it sounded like. So there was that. Another thing is that once this dropped, dude, the amount of 9/8s that hit the CGC census exploded. I remember checking when I sent my copy in, and this was back in like summer 2023 or shortly after. It was already at like 4,000 copies on the CGC census.
Wow.
That's huge, right? But the Spider-Boy character himself, dude, Dan Slott was hyping it even before, and anything came out announcement-wise regarding this character. Clearly, I think Marvel's putting a lot of their chips in this one, man. Like they're not gonna, go easy on Spider-Boy. I think he's here to stay.
Yeah, it amazes me how Spider-Man characters just do so well when it comes to first appearances, man. But this one was absolutely insane.
Yep. So there you have it, guys. That was the top 10 list for the best-selling comics of 2023, given to us by Comic Nation. So like I said, if you guys haven't yet, definitely go check out Comic Nation US. And of course, look for the links below in the descriptions of this video. You're going to have access to the Telegram group, to their website, and of course, the brothers right here, Pressable Defects. Go check out the first half of this video. If you're watching this one first, definitely head over to see that one where you can see the honorable mentions. And of course, from 10 to 6, exactly what took place and what was selling in 2023. Boys, thank you for being here with me today on this channel.
Oh,
Thanks, brother.
absolutely, BC. I had a blast doing the list. Looking forward to future projects together, right, with Comic Nation. And again, man, can't thank you enough for having us on.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you.